Second, I would say try hard to think about as you grow in each year of undergraduate and even in graduate work or professional, to think about building a personal board of directors for yourself, but maybe 3 or 4 adults who are older than you who have a vested interest in your success.
Welcome to When You Grow Up, the podcast for conversations between students with goals and the people who have already achieved them. Brought to you by Hopkins Connect at Johns Hopkins University. In this podcast, we match students for a conversation with their dream mentor. Here's our student host for today's episode.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tony Liang, and I'm from Taiwan. I'm an international student, and currently I'm studying at Johns Hopkins University, a master in education. And I'm very excited to have a great conversation with Anne-Marie Strauss and Rebekah Jackson for today's podcast.
Hi, everyone. I am Rebekah Jackson. I'm the Senior Director of Enrollment Management at the Bryn Mawr School for Girls in Baltimore, Maryland. I studied communications in undergrad and education policy for my master's degree.
My name is Anne-Marie Strauss. I am the Director of College Counseling at the Bryn Mawr School in Baltimore, Maryland. I am from the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, studied psychology undergrad at Allegheny College in Meadville, Pennsylvania, and earned a master's degree in education from the University of Virginia.
You're listening to the When You Grow Up podcast. And here we are. Thank you guys for joining. I wanted to know about what the difference between an old girl education versus the general education system, because I'm very interested in your institution.
One of the hallmarks, I think, of working in girls' schools is, and I attended co-educational schools all through my schooling and worked in co-ed high schools as well prior to starting at another girls' school across town. So I've been in single-sex education now for a little over 10 years. And one of the things that I love about it is that every leadership position in the school is a girl. So, every student council president, vice president, every captain of every team or club is a girl. That in single-sex schools, our AP computer science, AP chemistry, AP biology, AP physics courses are all are dominated by girls, and in co-ed institutions that's not always the case. So it's just super inspiring to be in a girls' school. Many of our leaders, administrators, adult leaders on campus are also women and strong women. So it's an opportunity for girls to see strong women and be surrounded by strong women, which is just incredible.
At Bryn Mawr in particular, there's this real culture where it's cool to be smart, and research has actually shown that girls who are in a single-sex environment have stronger academic skills. They're more academically engaged. They have higher levels of self-confidence. So there is actually a fair amount of research that says that all girls education is a great thing. But I've seen it, anecdotally as well, that girls just feel very comfortable in their learning space. They feel a real sisterhood with the girls that they go to school with, and they feel comfortable being who they are.
Wow, wonderful. I love you guys sharing about how women-dominated area can shape their in motivation and their whole themselves as an identity, to be as a powerful girl that can pursue either their academic goals and their job career goals. I wanted to dig in more about your personal path of career choosing. What makes you choose to dig into the path of education, and what's your motivation upon that?
So I went, when I started undergraduate education, I did not know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so I just started taking, my advisor said, why don't you take these, few classes in your first year. One of them was Psychology 101. It was the class that I just really loved out of all the classes I took in my freshman year. So continued to take psychology classes and then was able to declare a psychology major. And when I graduated from undergraduate, I thought very much that I wanted to work in the clinical psychology field with children. So I pursued a job with a outpatient psychiatric hospital in the city of Pittsburgh, and did that for a couple of years. And through that work experience in my early 20s, realized that I loved working with kids and I loved working with children. And I needed something a bit broader in terms of my area of interest. So decided to go back to graduate school when I was 24. And I remembered from my high school experience that my school counselor was really influential, and thought, well, I could work in schools and work with kids and apply my psychology degree. So went to graduate school for a master's in school counseling, and then started my career as a public school counselor about an hour north of Philadelphia. And I loved working in a high school doing public school counseling. One of the areas that I really, really loved with my job was the college admissions counseling and working with young people and high school students to choose the next chapter in their academic and personal lives. And had the opportunity to then transition into a private or independent school where the bulk of my job is working with students to help them figure out where they want to study for undergraduate and where they want to live in the world. So that is exclusively what I do at the Bryn Mawr School. So it's really, and I use my psychology background all the time in my counseling, in my work with students as they choose university. So that's my story.
Yes, I guess sort of similarly, I knew that actually growing up, I thought I wanted to be a teacher. And in my senior year of high school, I did a high school internship in a 5th grade classroom, and figured out sort of luckily that I liked the lesson planning, but I didn't love the classroom management. And so I decided not to pursue that as an undergraduate degree. I did love, in particular, my television class in high school and using those communication skills. And so I pursued that in undergraduate degree. And while I was in my undergraduate institution, I worked for the orientation office, and I gave tours and I helped students get acclimated to the university, which I loved, and thought, if I could work in universities, this would be such a fun job after graduation. So I did just that. I worked in admissions for universities for about 12 years and loved sharing information about the schools that I was representing and seeing people sort of have their lives changed by these places, and being that first point of contact. I got to do a lot of great travel and just meet a lot of really interesting people in that career. About 8 years ago, I transitioned over to the secondary education side. And so now I do admissions for the Bryn Mawr School, which is an independent school, K through 12. And it's a little bit the same. But I'm working with, 5 to 14-year-olds typically, rather than high school students or even graduate students. So what I've loved about working at Bryn Mawr is, again, seeing kids grow up and seeing their families. And, it's a much smaller community. So I'm able to be involved in a deeper level in their lives and track them throughout their time here, more so than I was able to do at the university level. So again, still being involved with education and being in a space that I really admire and respect, but perhaps using my skills in a different way.
I want to highlight a little point of Emery's career about high school counseling, because in my country, I think we don't have this service, and our high school students are very nervous, and they don't they are like kind of lost because they only get through their academic work but never thought about or are pushed so heavily about like what should they choose rather than what they wanted to choose. In our education system, we don't have this space for allow students to think on their own. And I really appreciate that in the US, there's a system like that that can support our students. Next one is that, what do you think that has changed in the realm of girls' education, and what do you expect further ahead?
I think as a country and maybe as a world, I haven't been outside this country in a few years because of the pandemic, but I think we are sort of grappling with what does it mean to be a girl, and what are our definitions of gender. And so I think all single-sex institutions right now are really trying to figure this out. I think the younger generation has, again, different definitions often of what it means to be female and who's included in these spaces and how do we serve them best. So that's been something that's been ongoing, but I think especially in the last few years has really come to a head.
For me as a college counselor, also we think a lot about, so the Bryn Mawr School produces an enormous amount of students, graduates who are interested in STEM fields and engineering, computer science, mathematics, quantum physics, lots and lots of, among all the other, interests and out there. But one of the, things that is interesting for me to think about is female identifying students are applying to and attending and graduating college and university at much greater numbers than male identifying students right now. And I'm just so curious to watch the next 20 years as more females and female identifying students are earning baccalaureate degrees, earning masters, PhDs, JDs, MDs, sort of how MBAs, how that is going to shape our country and the leadership in companies in private and nonprofit sector. So something I'm thinking about and watching.
What part of the academic institution future makes you excited? So what have you been picturing like for the next like decades or two? Like what will be beneficial for like students like nowadays?
I would say I'm most excited about our girls, the girls that I see every day, and how deeply they care about things like social justice and the environment, really everything. They're not afraid to speak up when they take issue with something, and also think about solutions. And so I'm really excited for the next generation of leaders that are coming up, and hoping that we can really tackle some of the big issues that our country has.
I agree. And really, our students seem to be so incredibly focused on the issues that Rebekah has talked about. And also social entrepreneurship. It just seems to be on the, really something that students in this generation are interested. They want to make a difference. They are interested in starting companies and starting nonprofits and starting organizations that are going to make a difference in society. So I think that's super exciting, and they're doing it now. They're doing it in high school, right? They're eager for opportunities to partner, often with universities to do some social entrepreneurship programs, to get to earn seed money, to start to create an app, for trying to help identify healthy food sources in food deserts in Baltimore City, and just access to healthcare. They're just so interested in so many things. So I think that's super exciting. And because they are savvy and they have skills, they have technology skills, they have computer science programming skills, they have the skills. So they have the skills, and then also the EQ, the emotional intelligence, that I just think this is such an exciting time to work at a girls' school, to work at a school like Bryn Mawr, and to watch this generation and the impact that they're going to have moving forward.
Wow. Oh my God, I'm so excited for what will they be contributing in the future. And I'm totally agree with that. The social justice part they can bring to the society, like the things that has been treated like people take it for granted, like it should be that way, but they think it differently, like what opportunities or changes they can make to make the world a better place. And I think it's like the next generation, they have like the more like creative and more like insights about like what the world will be like. So there's one more question about it, is that what else do you think that education nowadays should be teaching our students other than academic knowledge, like soft skills, our relationships, other things that's maybe more important than just academic knowledge? And what actions can we take to make the progress as an educator?
Well, one of the things that is on, I think, many educators' minds is the effect of social media and smartphones and smart devices on the mental health of our children and of our youth. And one of the things that I hope that we can help with is building students' resiliency factors, and in addition to academic growth, also helping our children be resilient when challenges present themselves, because that is life, right? And we will all, the challenges will always be there, and how to manage and meet that challenge. And then when failure happens, because of, again, it's life, and students, kids, people, we will fail. How do we help our students get back up and keep going, right? And that's super important to me, because that, I think that feeds into we're in a mental health crisis in our country as well, and so really the wellness, health, and well-being of our students is something that I feel really strongly that we need to be implementing in our school system as well.
This generation of kids, it just has so much instant gratification. I see it with even, my 6-year-old is just used to being able to get things so fast and in a way that we can't, couldn't even comprehend. And what is the impact of that and on their emotional health and their resiliency, I think is huge. And I know that, at places like Bryn Mawr, we're able to implement a wellness curriculum, but not every school has the resources or the people to really make that a priority. So I would definitely advocate for that as well. The thing that I was thinking about, again, has been affected by the pandemic is our ability to relate to each other, our ability to speak to people not on a device, perhaps in front of a larger crowd, just traditional public speaking, which is a class here, I think is really important, but also, again, the ability to advocate for yourself and have a conversation is a skill that I think it is a little bit lost on this generation, because of devices and because of the pandemic, haven't had to do as much of. And so I think that should be a real focus. And then, also something that we teach here is, giving girls the skills and the confidence they need to defend their arguments and make arguments, but also the skills to listen to other people and really hear their points of view. And so being able to have thoughtful and respectful discussions is something that I think our society really needs. It's, we're so polarized and people don't want to hear each other. And so I'm hoping that, the next generation can, work on that. But I think it's a long road ahead, again, because of all the obstacles that we've had in the last few years, and technology is increasingly, I think, kind of pulling us away from in-person interactions.
Thank you so much. And I really do appreciate you brought up the fact that nowadays we are on their phones all the time, and we're lacking of this like authentic relationship and interaction with others. And I think it's important for education to be mindful that we have to teach these skills, like how to survive in a society that's we can have like rich conversations and understanding of each other, that we can like grow together as a community. And what is your biggest challenge like being in the career that you're now at?
I mean, I think for me, so I'm in admissions for an independent school that costs $37,000 a year to attend. So obviously it is not an experience that everyone can afford. And so, trying to make that opportunity available to, as many girls as possible while also being a financially sustainable institution, I think is my daily tension. And, again, sort of balancing the business aspects of the school with what we want to do for students, and the relationships I have with families, I think is a challenge in my area.
To sort of piggyback on what Rebekah said, I think a couple of challenges that we're looking at in the college counseling world is the cost of higher education in the United States is exorbitant and continues to increase, and that is making it very challenging for many students and families to finance an undergraduate degree. So that affordability and cost of college and university study in the United States is really a primary challenge and concern. And to as a college counselor, to work with our students and our families, and each student and family has a unique story and unique needs and financial, situations and parameters. So to help each student find affordable higher education is definitely something that we think and talk about a lot. And it's something that honestly, in the 21 years I've been doing this work, that we didn't used to talk about this very much at all. It sort of was something that, how to afford college and how to pay for college kind of came at the end of the process, which probably wasn't good. But I would say in the last 10 years, particularly in the last maybe 5 or 6, conversations about financial cost and affordability really are first and foremost. And that's in every conversation I have with students and parents. We have an affordability conversation, and really taking a deep dive and being much more involved and invested in helping families complete financial aid applications, helping families understand the aid awarding. That's a huge piece for my office and for my college counselors.
I think it's very interesting that both of you mentioned like the finance difference have made those barriers for like disadvantaged children to get into good quality of education and to be able to like kind of flip their life to a more like fulfilling life they wanted to pursue. It happens in every single country. It's not just in the US, but it's like every educators and politicians have to be concerned about this, and how can we kind of remove these barriers, allow all kids are able to thrive. And it's not about like where they fit, it's about where they wanted to be and as a person, and what they wanted to do with their lives. Last but not least is I wanted you guys to share about anything you wanted to share with like the current university students, because I think a lot of people who are listening to our podcast is like mostly undergrad, and maybe they have some struggles, or they are not very clear about their future path or anything related to education. There's like any advice you can give them will be perfect.
Anne-Marie probably has better advice because she works with this population more often, but I would say, thinking back to my undergraduate career, the things that excited me the most in terms of things I wanted to get involved with ultimately led me to, the career path that was right for me. So just thinking about your interests, and even if it is if you're excited about giving tours of your college, that it turns out that's a legitimate career. So I think just letting your interests guide you, and the things that I remember when I started working for orientation, I thought, I would do this for free. I would do this every day. And, when you hit that thing, I think you'll know it. And, just trying things and letting your interests guide you. So what you want to do.
Thanks, Rebekah. Definitely. One of the jokes in college admissions, in the college admissions professional world, is that there is no college admissions major, right? No one really goes to college or university undergraduate to become an admissions professional. But lo and behold, it's oftentimes people who were tour guides, right, at their undergraduate and interned and that sort of thing. So yes, I would say I have 3 pieces of advice, I think, for undergraduate students. One that you've probably already done is to find adult mentors. Be that faculty members, people in student services, people that are working in the admissions office, people all over campus, an internship coordinator, a research mentor, but find an adult mentor who you can ask questions to, and who is going to give you advice that's not, your family and is not biased advice, but really that you can ask the questions to and get advice. Second, I would say try hard to think about as you grow in each year of undergraduate and even in graduate work or professional, to think about building a personal board of directors for yourself. And again, this builds on the mentorship idea, but maybe 3 or 4 adults who are older than you, who have a vested interest in your success, but are maybe not competing with you to get a job or to get an internship, and build a board of directors for yourself who you can go to and ask for advice. That I think is huge, and that will serve you well throughout your life, personally and professionally. And then the third, which I think is probably the most important right now for all of us and for young people in particular, is ask for help when you need it. And be that academic help, personal, social, physical or mental well-being help, asking for help is not a weakness, it's actually a strength. And there are so many people that are willing to support and guide and lift you up on your darkest days. So please reach out and ask for help when you need it.
We're almost out of time, and I really like both of you are sharing so much great ideas and your experience that can be very beneficial for everyone who's listening to this podcast. And even me, I'm currently on the path of education, and I learned so much from you guys. And because in my country, Taiwan, I think is a very academic heavy country, like most Asian countries did. And everyone is trying to fit into the realm of STEAM, because it's the most popular career. But I do think that there are so much more the children can be contribute into, for example, art and athletes. And I feel so grateful when I see those different forms of things they can come up with. I don't know. I don't know what I can contribute in this big realm of education. I think there are so many roles that I have to kind of find my way to how can I do it. But I think that it is very important to getting to know your students and know their personal interests. And as young, they all have their sparks, they are very interested in certain things, they are very passionate about it. But as they grow up, either is someone poured their fire down, or are not so confident about what they can contribute or achieve. But we as educators are kind of their life coach that fuel that can keep them burning in a sense.
Thank you for sharing that. I would say too, as an educator, and you said, I don't know what I'm going to, how I'm going to be able to give back and influence people, but it's really fascinating when you become an educator and you do this professionally, because things that you say and do, years later, someone will come back and it's a conversation that you had with them, and maybe I don't even remember it, but the student will come back, when they're in college or beyond, and they'll say, it was when you said to me in your office this thing that I knew I could do it, or that I went for it. And it's so interesting because as an educator, to your point of we have to give them the fuel, right? Even when their tank is empty, it's up to us to help pour that in. And each person, you just never know how you're going to impact them, but you will, and you'll get it back, and it'll come back. It's going to be amazing for you. So thank you for being here and studying, and thank you for pursuing education.
yeah, I think education is such a worthy pursuit for a graduate degree. And I know it's not always valued by everyone in terms of, the income potential. But I think it definitely pays dividends in many other ways and is so important for our future. So thank you for doing it.
I think we're at the end of our section. So I really wanted to give a big hands on Anne-Marie and Rebekah for sharing all these wonderful things.
You're welcome. And any JHU students or anyone else that's listening, come work at the Bryn Mawr School. It's awesome.
You have been listening to When You Grow Up, the podcast for conversations between students with goals and the people who have already achieved them. Thank you to our When You Grow Up podcast student team and all the people who make this podcast possible, including our editors, Thomas Nishimoto and Josh Felton, our relationship associates, Camille Blake and Laura Flynn, our marketing coordinator, Himanshi Sharma, our project manager, Ben Stevens, our host students, and all of our guests.